Pada means section. Samadhi is the highest state of meditation. So, what is the goal of samadhi? The knowledge of reality. Samadhi pada. Pada is a section. Samadhi is the highest state of meditation, and the goal of any meditation is the knowledge of reality. What is that reality? Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. The third sutra of the Samadhi Pada. See that in the first four sutras, Patanjali has summarized the entire system of yoga. So the third sutra says the knowledge of the reality. What is that reality? It is my true nature. What is that true nature? It is pure consciousness. What are the attributes? It is pure awareness, truth, love, wisdom, and permanent state of happiness. So first four sutras clears everything pertaining to yoga. Then he goes on explaining what is the way to do it that we have covered. Abhyas vairagya abhyam tan nirodha. Very important. That is why I always use regular practice with wisdom. In that word wisdom, I have added viveka, discernment, and when that applied viveka becomes applied viveka, it becomes dispassion. That is the meaning of Patanjali by the name practice. He says abhyas vairagya abhyam tan nirodha. So when he explains further the abhyasa, the practice has to be regular. It has to be done for a longer period. It has to be done with a commitment. So that is why we covered the last week topic why and how the knowledge of the reality takes place. It gives us a hint, an idea that why Patanjali is saying abhyasa definitely with applied wisdom means viveka and vairagya. But why he says regular, one, commitment, two, and it has to be done for a longer period. So that gives us an idea that meditation or mindfulness journey is not a journey like it can be done instantly. So we undertake a very important journey for the mind. And what is that journey? That journey we have covered 2 weeks before. There are three fundamental transformations that takes place in the mind. Fundamental transformation. Transformation is also a change. And I'll see that. What happens in meditation or mindfulness? Something popping up in the head. So transformation is also a change. Evolution is also a change. Development is also a change. Growth is also a change. So that gives a clear conception and idea about mindfulness or meditation journey. Growth. We always use the word growth for plants. So it's basically a horizontal movement. Development has 50-50, 50% horizontal movement, 50% vertical movement. What means I am a teacher, have been teaching for 20 years. Now let me have a center where I can teach independently. So from horizontal, it is a vertical movement. What is that vertical movement means? The mind has to move from the lower to the higher nature. Mind has to move from the lower to the higher nature. Now, the third is what we say evolution. The time comes when we practice meditation regularly, we start working with a new plane of consciousness where the conflict and the duality and the challenges are perceived as a play and a fun. Oh, problem has come. Let me use that as an opportunity, refine my skills, and go for the journey of life. Evolution. After evolution, the transformation is the last word. What happens? Now I'm living in a new state of awareness, new plane of a consciousness. So that new plane of the consciousness recognizes instantly problems and the opportunities and their solution. One. Second, it also recognizes that I have reached to that state of meditation where the mind is not working on me, but I am working on the mind. But still, I find past impressions, thought patterns come and go, and sometimes they wipe out, they cover, they create a veil like the clouds in the sky that covers the sun. So the transformation means now it is the ultimate, where I am capable of transforming the mind once and for all. Then only we start working on the mind completely. So, 2 weeks ago, we understood Patanjali says there are three transformations. Three transformation. Ekagrata parinam. Parinam, normally translated as transformation. Ekagrata parinam, samadhi parinam, nirodha parinam. And that is a big and deeper subject so that we know, we can analyze, we can understand. What we can understand? We can understand our own mind better. So, first comes, what comes? First comes Samadhi Parinam, or you can say anyone can. Samadhi Parinam means Samadhi transformation of the mind. What it means? Now this mind will never ever working on me. Mind is ready for me the way the car is ready for me to drive anywhere. It is still in the garage. I am the master. Samadhi Parinam. What we studied, yoga, samadhi, yoga is mindfulness. Now I am the master. But in order to achieve that samadhi parinam, the transformation, there needs to be a sense of commitment where the mind is constantly moving within, living within, or if you say easy, inside out, not outside inside. The journey becomes more and more from inside to outside. For that, we need some sense of focus. So we say tatah punaha shanto dito tulya pratyayo chitasya ekagrata parinamah. What happens? There is another transformation. What is that transformation? Just imagine. even dream of it. The mind is constantly wandering, and now the mind has stopped wandering. Mind witnesses all those thoughts and it remains one pointedness. It is one of the greatest achievement we can go for it. And the third parinam is the niruddha parinam. I will narrate, it is good to put into the text. Sri Aurobindo went to the great master Lele. There are many different types of master. Now, especially when we talk of a guru. So, one guru is more or less like a mauni. Mauni means totally silent. When you push them, then only they will speak little and they will keep quiet. So, there are other masters who have realized that state, the same state, but they want to express out of compassion and love to bring an end to the suffering of the people. So, they bring forth that knowledge of the principles of the Eastern wisdom. They try to express in a variety of ways based on the temperament of the people. So Lale was the master, almost Moni, silent master. When you push this guy, there are many masters living still in the Himalayas. They don't want to come out. They don't say, no, there is no need to express. So now that master Lale was almost a silent master, and Arvindo pushed him. Arvindo became a great master. He pushed him. So I'm giving you a validation of these three transformations. So when Lale was pushed by Sri Aurobindo, teach me, guide me into the meditation. So these Moni masters, they gave you only three instructions. Sit down, close your eyes. First instruction. Watch these thoughts. They are coming from outside. Before they come, throw them out from your mind. A great revelation. Always the great master makes the great statement. What is that? All these thoughts are coming from outside? I have been thinking all these thoughts are coming from my own mind. He did not argue. Throw away all these thoughts before they enter into your mind. Third instruction, live into the state and see what happens. And Sri Aurobindo continued sitting in that state with the three instructions for 3 days. That magic, what he revealed, is amazing. You met a great master, you are a great seeker, then these result happens. So Sri Aurobindo said that after 3 days of that meditation, I always experience a peace, silence in my mind throughout my life. That indicates the three transformations. He said, I always experience the infinite awareness and a pure space pervading inside me all the time, even if I'm talking, communicating, doing all the actions. That is the sign of these three transformations. So once we start with that journey, then Patanjali says what happens, how that journey takes place. So he explains in the 17th sutra, Vitarka Vichar Anand Asmita Anugamata Sampragyatah. So he gives a label to that meditation practice. He says it is Sampragyat meditation or Sampragyat Samadhi. But he says that that Sampragyat Samadhi is of four types. Four types. What are those? So, how that Samadhi happens? Go back what he told us about the practice abhyas vairagya abhyam tan nirodha. Then we have also understood there are different types of dispassion. There is a lower dispassion, there is a higher dispassion. So the lower dispassion, lower vairagya leads to sampragnat samadhi. First thing to understand. And as we continue this samadhi, we enter into the asamprajna, the higher stage of samadhi. Now see that. Do we understand uh, viveka? Yes, that is discernment. And when we apply that viveka, it becomes vairagya. So, what is the main thing to be understood clearly? If I do not do knowledge practice, here I'm specifically qualifying that if I don't do the knowledge practice, what is the knowledge practice? I don't contemplate and reflect on the principle of viveka, and I experience dispassion, the vairagya. So, if I don't practice, contemplate, and reflect on that before the practice, samadhi meditation will not take place. I'm not saying it is what the Patanjali is saying. Seeker who perceives material world outside, people, place, time, objects are unreal. Why unreal? So that his mind awakens discernment that leads to dispassion. So now see, are waves real? All waves are made up of water. Water is the main thing. So when we say the effect is not real, cause is real. So here the reference point, what is the cause of my physical body and the sense organs? So the principles of Eastern wisdom says the cause of the physical or the gross body is the subtle body. And what is the subtle body? Is the mind. We are working on the mind through viveka and dispassion. So here, when we say unreal, the effect is unreal. So what is the cause of the mind? Cause of the mind is the causal body. Oh, so gradually we move from outside to inside. First point to be understood if we want to succeed in some pragnat meditation. Now go ahead, finding the cause and the effect. The cause of the intellect is three gunas: sato, rajo, and tamo guna. The cause of ahinkara is buddhi, intellect. The cause of buddhi is mind. When intellect is refined and made subtle by regular practice of viveka, thought, speech, and action are influenced by sato guna. What is the conclusion? That if my intellect is guided by, dominated by, living in sato guna, it is always seeking knowledge and happiness. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of reality. Can my mind or intellect living in tamoguna can ever practice and succeed in meditation? The answer is no. Why no? I'm doing the practice. I've been doing the practice for 10 years and 15 years. But the mind and the intellect is dominated by the tamoguna. What is tamoguna? I oppose all the principles on which the meditation is found. You have seen a lot of people. Oh, I have been practicing meditation for how many years? 10 years. What is the result? I still have stress. See that? Patanjali is making very clear. Well, second part. Now, I've been practicing meditation for 20 years, not results. So, meditation is a fake. Come on, your desire for meditation is fake. That is why your conclusion that meditation is fake, not before that. So, sometime when the mind and intellect is dominated and influenced by rajo guna, mind is constantly running. In that case also, this sampragnat meditation fails. Why it fails? I've been doing it. I have more rajasic guna. I make it a point that I practice every day. I practice 3 times a day, but it is dominated by rajoguna. Nothing will happen. Oh yeah, nothing will happen means you'll feel relaxed and calm, but ultimately that meditation state or the stays which the Patanjali is saying cannot be achieved by that. He's very clear about it. So now what a commentator Vyasa says we have understood. Vyasa is a great commentator. In fact, we say its real name, we can say you might have heard Ved Vyasa. Ved Vyasa, we can say he was the master who is the founder of the entire journey of the Eastern wisdom. Credit goes to him for Upanishads, Purana, another group of texts, sutras. One thing to be understood clearly, one thing more. I go by some popular notion. What is that popular notion? Uh, Patanjali was born around, he was more or less a contemporary of Buddha, 450, 480, and 500. What is the basis of that? We don't have any solid basis. Now I give you a solid base. We can write that I have not written in the text. Who gave the commentary of Patanjali Yoga-Sutra? The great commentator is Vyasa. Vyasa lived 5,000 years ago. Vyasa lived 5,000 years ago. So it means when the Vyasa started giving commentary on Patanjali Yoga Sutra, the Patanjali was much have been born a little earlier. The book was available, the sutra was available, then only the Vyasa gave commentary. How can you give a commentary when the text is not available? How can you say that the Patanjali was born only 480 or 480 BC or just 2,500 years ago? So we leave it to the historian. There is no need of argument when we are focused on the knowledge of the reality. But just to give you a reference, we can put it into the text. When Vyasa is a commentator who wrote majority of the text, who lived 5,000 years ago, how can I claim that the Patanjali lived hardly 2,500 years ago? Second part, many of the words used by Buddha comes from the Patanjali Yoga Sutra also. It changed a little bit, but ultimately, we discussed about Hetu, Hanupaya. What is that? 4 noble truths of Buddhism. Buddha. Anyhow, so not to deviate too much. So now coming, I will deal a little bit on that. I will deal a little bit on that because my master used to say that unless the seeker reaches to that state, then only you reveal those steps and practices. Even though it is a royal secret means it is an open secret. It is available to everyone. Still, there are something that cannot be written, scribed. Coming to the first samadhi or meditation practice, Patanjali says sampragyat samadhi. There are four types of samadhi in this stage: vitark rupa, vichar rupa, ananda rupa, asmita rupa. To understand these four stages, we have to practice, we have to undergo the experiences. Based on the experiences, we can make out in which stage of the samadhi you are. Anyhow, at the same time, we should recall that Eastern wisdom declares darshan means the direct perception, going beyond the mind, is the way. In this state, self knows the self. I want to touch upon, you must include that. When we say transcend, we say all meditation or mindfulness is transcending the mind. What it means? Practical. No, that I should understand and apply. So I just want to know, it came to my mind just now. So it is better to understand a little bit about this. Take an example of the body. Do I remember my head during the day? Am I aware of both the arms during the day? Not at all. Why? Body is comfortable, relaxed. I start remembering my head when there is a headache, when there is a pain in the right arm. Recently, I told you I had a lot of pain in my right arm, writing, and writing. So every time I was sitting on a dining table, my mind says, take care of the right arm. The moment I start writing, mind says, take care of my right arm. Don't move like this. So when the body is fairly healthy, it is relaxed, it is steady, we hardly remember any part of the body. And we can work freely. That is one meaning of transcending the body. Transcending the body doesn't mean that I become totally unconscious of the body. So, if it means unconscious of the body, then it is very easy to become unconscious of the body. Give some anesthesia, take some drugs, drink too much. No. Now, take the same example, same explanation with reference to the mind. Why I cannot transcend the mind? Wandering nature. Patanjali gives the result. Ekagrata parinam. See that. So when I culture my mind, means I start working on the mind. What is the meaning of culture? Tilling. Care. I start caring the mind. What it means by caring the mind? Use the word to understand. Use the word agriculture. Mental culture. Agriculture. Mental culture. We prepare the ground. We plow it, we water it, we put the fertilizer, and we sow the seed. Exactly the same way, we have to culture this mind. That culture the mind, there are many words are used: purification of the mind, focus, allow the six treasures to enter, awaken to the six treasures. Now see that the way the body is comfortable, there is no complaint in the body, we transcend the body. The same way, through the three transformation, Patanjali hinted, when we undergo these three transformations, the mind as such is so comfortable, so carefree, that it can transcend the mind and it can live in meditation. It is not an unconscious process, it is not an habitual process. Understand that word transcending, we have been using it again and again. And the mind goes, starts dreaming, transcending, Transcending means I'm entering into a different world or a space. No. Based on that understanding, I gave that example. Know the why sampragyat samadhi are normally practiced. How the sampragyat samadhi is normally practiced. For a higher seeker, no worries, he can directly enter into that state in the first chapter. But normally practiced, steady and relaxed, cheerfulness in the mind, neither too relaxed nor too much of effort, moving the mind within from the first three states. It is ekagrata state, one-pointedness state. So we follow the first three principles of the third chapter. Deshabandhasya chitasya dharana, that is dharana, uh, uninterrupted flow of the mind, tattva pratik tanata dhyanam, and ultimately we fall into dharana, and after dharana we go into the samadhi. That is another way. If we are not higher level of the seeker, then we follow the Ashtanga Yoga path. Vyasa commented. So if you are not a higher level of a seeker, you are not able to sit, you are not able to enter into the Sampragyat Samadhi, follow that Ashtanga Yoga, and it will take years, maybe 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, we don't know. Based on these information and understanding, now we come to the first Vitarka. The first stage of Sampragyat Samadhi is Vitarka Sampragyat Samadhi. That is how it is known as. Because Sampragyat Samadhi has four stages. First stage is Vitarka, so it becomes Vitarka Sampragyat Samadhi. What happens in that? You are into that Vitarka Sampragyat Samadhi or meditation. Your mind experiences physical or material or gross elements. What are these five elements that are perceived are the last creations. Whatever we perceive outside is in earth, water, fire, air, space, five elements. But what is the cause of these perception of the five elements through the sense organ? What is the cause of it? The cause lies inside. In meditation, we experience that very cause. So, our masters explain that these five elements are subtler than the five elements that are seen. That are seen. In the Vitarka stage of Sampragyat meditation, what happens? We perceive these five elements. But I already see those five elements with my naked eyes. Physical mind perceives these physical elements. Now, in meditation, it is the subtler mind perceives the cause of these five elements. What is the cause of those five elements? They are also five elements, but in a subtler level. Giving you one understanding that will make clear. So, what happens with these five elements? Take an example of the earth. There are many methods explained in different texts by the masters. The object of meditation is specified with location, shape, color, perception, and experiences of these elements. Now, see, within the space, seeker experiences earth element like a shape of a square. located between the knees and the toes, yellow in color, with smells of different types. The seeker may experience heaviness like the earth and identify with being one with the earth. You see, I normally avoid explaining in detail when people say, I have seen the color, I have seen the vision. Yes, if they are normal and it is easy to put forth to make seeker understand, I explain it. Otherwise, I just avoid it. Why to avoid it? Because they are little bit serious subjects. I always say, let the time come, then I will explain you about the vision and the colors that we experience. So now see that up to this level, I have not explained deeply. My master told me that not to go too far until the seeker enters into the journey, starts experiences constantly these things. Then there is a time to explain. Now, the second meditation on the water, we are still covering the first stage of Sampragnat meditation. So, what happens with the water seeker in the meditation on the space within? Experiences water element like the shape of a moon located between the belly button and the knees, and it is silver in color. It has a sense of taste of different types. You start experiencing different taste. So there is some glimpse that yeah, water element. And the water element is higher than the earth element. It means there is a progress. A lot of permutation and combination happens. That's very clearly explained. The seeker experiences water all around himself, below and above, right and left, front and the back. So what happens if we start explaining and giving the first-hand information about these five different uh, experiences in this meditation? So people start imagining, dreaming. And if I like water, then I start imagining myself in the ocean. No, that will take long time. And you start meditating, entering into the Sampragnat Samadhi, and then you experience that your mind is not feeding you. That will be good. Meditation on fire. The meditation on fire, what happens? It is the shape of a triangle located between the belly button and the heart, red in color, with a sense of sight. So there are many sight, many visions. The seeker experiences visualization of various types with extreme heat all around. Fourth meditation on air. Here, air element like the shape of a hexagon, located in the heart chakra, gray-blue in color, with the sense of touch. The seeker experiences many types of touch. It may be soft, gentle, hard, lightness, and they recur constantly. There's a recurrence. So then we know that yes, you are moving ahead from lower to the higher stages. Meditation on the space. The space located between the eyebrows and the crown chakra, colorless or black with the sense of hearing. Now see that the moment you close your eyes, you already see the black color. Means darkness. Definitely, that is a projected space by the mind. But when you go deeper into the meditation, that experience is different from simply becoming aware of the blackness. The seeker experiences various types of sound with the floating in the space. So you see the five different types. So you have a clarity that you pick up the cause of these five elements. Otherwise, anyone can say, what is the fun? I already see with my naked eyes all these five elements with my five sense organs. So, vitarka means awareness, knowledge, and experience of gross or physical by the mind in a meditative state. And the mind moves within by practice, it continues to move with leaving the world of name and forms. It awakens to the five elements. The cause of five elements are five subtle elements. We need to understand one more point here. The root cause of the world is known as three gunas. World means world of name and the form, world of people, place, time. Desh, Kal, Vastu, Gita says. The Mahat Tattva is created, cosmic principle, we say, is also known as this Mahat Tattva is also known as intellect. From the Mahatvat, Ahankara is created. Ahankara creates the mind and the five sense organs and the five motor organs, the five subtle elements. This is what is perceived in the Sampragnat meditation. So, from that subtle elements, whatever we perceive as the earth outside, whatever is solid, whatever is fluid is water, whatever is solid is earth element. Whatever gives you that power, force, and the energy is fire element. So this is another way to understand from the Mahatma, the Ahankara, from the Ahankara, the intellect, from the intellect, the mind, from the mind, five sense organs, five motor organs, and five subtle elements. From these five subtle elements, you have the five gross elements that we see outside through our naked from sense organs. So we are clear. What is the clarity? That when we say that the Vitarka Sampragnat Samadhi leads to an experiences of five subtle elements, we are saying that what is the cause of these five elements is perceived, is experienced in this meditation, not the earth, what we see outside, not the water, what we see outside, with a specific color and shape and the location. Second Sampragnat Samadhi is known as Vichar. Vichar. Now we have understood the cause of these five elements. We understand. You have to summarize this. I have made it in a point. So these five subtle elements. Now, the five gross elements, the physical elements, are the last point of the creation. We cannot have the sixth element. Now go back. So in meditation, what happens? Understand in a different way. I give one step into the higher meditation practice. My eyes are open, I see my physical body. I see the world. So it is the physical mind that perceives the physical world. Now the same physical mind perceives the physical body with eyes closed. Go a little deeper. Do I perceive the breath? Yes, I see it. It is not the physical mind, it is the subtle mind that perceives the breath. Do I see the thoughts are entering into my mind? Yes, it is the subtler mind. So, what is beyond the thoughts, feeling, and the sensations? There is nothing. Now, no object is left. So, I can see the subtlest mental state. So, these four stages of meditation makes my mind from subtle to subtler to the subtlest with a specific experiences in the meditation. So what happens now in this stage? Now no color, no vision. I see the earth element with an experience of the smell. Water element in the experience of taste. Fire element in the shape of sight and the rupa, the name and the form. Air element in the form of a touch. Akasha in the name of that, in the name of sound. So that stage. Now see the gradations, the lower to the higher stage. I find the five subtle cause of these five elements. Now, what is the cause of those five elements? So, the principles of Eastern wisdom says it is smell, taste, color, form, touch, hearing, and the sound. Now, I'm going to the root. See that? Going to the root of these five elements. So, that becomes the second stage of sampragnat meditation, my friend. Go a little deeper. The third stage comes Ananda Sampragnata Samadhi. Anand means joy, unbound, unbinding joy. Seeker perceives permanent happiness by realizing the faculty of the sense and the motor organs and the mind and ahankara. What it means. Faculty. Very small way to understand. Physical ears are there, I can see. The faculty of hearing is different from the physical organ of ears. Are you getting it? Two things. That faculty of hearing, of seeing, are represented by different deities in the gods. Because they are the faculty, they are the power. That we will take up sometime later. But here, the question is now I'm going to the cause further. The faculty of hearing, the faculty of seeing, the faculty of touch, the faculty of locomotion, automation. So that the moment I see that, I see there is one source. And that the moment I experience there is one source, I fill myself with the joy, the ananda. So it is not that a person who has been practicing meditation for 10 years cannot find the joy. Reverse. If he is sharing, I am experiencing complete joy after the meditation, what it means, where he is, I can even instantly find out. That's why I ask people to share their experiences so to point them out, doing good. Yes, this is wonderful experience. But there is no continuity of that joy. So what we are seeking, that the continuity of the joy. That is why we need to continue to practice meditation for longer period. Now coming to the cause of these all elements, five gross elements, five sense organ, motor organs, intellect, mind, ego, is the three gunas. So when we reach to that, it is known as the fourth stage of Sampragnat Samadhi. Why we say Sampragnat Samadhi? It is meditation with an object. It means the object still is present, either in a pure physical form, the cause of that physical form, and the cause of that, and ultimately the cause of that. So, ultimately, as long as that cause is an effect of the next cause, we experience the Sampragnat Samadhi. We always experience that it is the four stages, one of the four stages of Sampragnat meditation, which Patanjali clarifies Deshabandhasya Chetasya Dharana in the third chapter. So now we have covered the four stages of Sampragnat Samadhi. Simply explaining that Sampragnat Samadhi is an object. Object may be a subtle, object may be a taste, may be a smell, may be a hearing. So what happens? Sometimes people go into the deeper Sampragnat Samadhi, the first stage of the Samadhi. He is totally absorbed into the space element. So from that space element, he realizes many sound. There may be a revelation of the mantra. There may be a revelation of the mantra, but you are still located there. You may claim, your mind may claim because of ego that you have reached to the higher stage. No, you are still there. You are still there. Yes, you have deeply gone into meditation on the space because space is an element. So it is the first stage of Sampragyat Samadhi, that is Vitarka Sampragyat Samadhi, and there is an object. So what about Asampragyat Samadhi, the Sutra number 18, when the object, you are in the objectless state. You are in the objectless state. By persistent practice of Sampragyat Samadhi, one attains objectless state which is known as Asampragyata. So Samadhi is yoga. We have understood from the first sutra of the Patanjali, Samadhi is yoga. Two types of Samadhi is yoga. One type of Samadhi happens in the fourth subjective state of the mind, and the other type of the higher Samadhi or meditation happens in the fifth subjective state of the mind. And the fifth subjective state of the mind is clearly defined in the second sutra, Yoga-Chitta Vritti Nirodha, emptiness state of the mind. Now, it's very clear, you have to give it a clarity of word. Patanjali explains the nature of this samadhi, viram. Viram means to stop. Mind as if stopped. What stops? Vrittis. So I'm explaining this sutra. Viram. What is this sutra? This sutra is Viram Pratyaya Abhyasa Purva Sanskar Sheshu Ananya. So what is the Viram means? It appears as if the mind has stopped. What makes it appear to mind has stopped? Because that very thought pattern, what are the thought pattern? The five objective states of the mind that we have already covered in the second section. So that objective states of the mind, those thought patterns stops as if in the niruddha state. So what is left? Pratyaya means knowledge of the self reveals here in the state of highest wisdom. A catch is here. If I have not reached to the highest state of applied viveka that I have been applying in my daily life, and I have reached to the highest state of a dispassion, that is a precondition. Once I reach to that precondition, then the knowledge of the self reveals here. It means complete vairagya. Abhyas purv. There is another two words that means regular practice with commitment. Then what happens? The sanskar sheshaha. Here is another catch. What do you mean? Objectless state. Thought pattern is not there. Modifications of the mind is not there. But the past impressions are already present. They may trigger the mind. Two types of sanskara. One belongs to the objective state of the mind, and the other the niruddha impression. Now, there is another catch here. I've been doing the practice regularly. I experience a sense of objectless state of the mind again and again and again. So there are two kinds of impressions. One impression is of the thought pattern that may turn up anytime, and also the impression of the emptiness, objectless state of the mind. So they are alternating. They are alternating. They are alternating. Maybe 15 minutes I'm into that objectless state, and then I get one thought. Previously, I could not recognize that objectless state because the interval between the two thoughts was negligible. But now I'm able to see that space, that interval. where I see the objectless state of the mind. Are you getting it? Interval, alternating. That is what he is explaining as sampragyat samadhi, practice of meditation with viveka that leads to the highest dispassion, stops all the five objective states of the mind, but the impression remains. What is impression? What is impression? Impression is simple. Here is your syllabus. I printed out what I have to do. So when I printed out, I wrote something here. When I see the back of it, I see the impression. That is what is known as the impression. Any thought, any feeling, whether it is of anxiety or pleasure or meditative state, mind always creates an impression. So, what the master is saying, Patanjali, that those impressions still exist. So, they alternate with the objectless state, impression, objectless state, impression, objectless state, impression, alternating. So, impressions lives for a longer period. I have not achieved it. And every day, every time I experience the period of that objectless state is much more than the presence of those impressions, not the presence of thought pattern. See that? Impression, thought pattern, two different things. So it is very subtle. So mind has become subtle. I just explained you the subtler level of the mind is able to perceive these two things. I can understand intellectually, but but unless I practice, I cannot get into it. So, what is the secret? Mind can live in one of the five subjective states of the mind. What about Niruddha, the fifth state? Ekagrata state has four stages of samadhi. Still, it is attracted by the not self elements. I gave another word to it. Not self elements, object, any object of the world. Four stages of sampragyat samadhi has some objects. Sanskara, I have explained it. The state of emptiness may be a sampragyat samadhi. As long as this mind contains five types of thoughts with the painful or non painful experiences that we have understood the five objective states of the mind, cannot attain the state of emptiness. That is why Patanjali was very intelligent, wise enough, so he explained, because he wanted to explain what is sampragyat and what is asampragyat samadhi. When mind is disciplined, educated, empowered, the next step is to evolve the mind. The evolution means here the mind is not influenced by constantly changing events in the world outside. So, means it is not affected by the five objective states of the mind. The emptiness does not mean forcibly making the mind empty, which is not possible. And at the same time, we should know that in a deep sleep state, there are no contents. Neither of these two factors can help reach to the state of mindfulness. The journey of meditation is to transition from waking state to awakening state. I added a lot of principles together here. Neither from the sleep state nor from the mind being dictated by the events of the world outside. That leads to a kind of awesome pragyat samadhi. The last point, there are more than 3,000 masters who explained different steps of mindfulness in different stages. But the fact is that there is only one meditation or mindfulness. The masters taught hundreds of practices, depend on different levels of the seekers treading the path. And there are different schools of yoga. Raj Yoga teaches you a different way. Jnana Yoga teaches you the different way. Bhakti Yoga teaches you the different way. Kundalini Yoga teaches you the different way. And Patanjali briefly explains them in the uh, following sutras, or we can delete this part. Now, why I use the word Kundalini Yoga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or you can include Hatha Yoga. In Hatha Yoga text, any text of Hatha Yoga, the master has one or more verse. What is that verse? Without Raja Yoga, you cannot achieve success in the ultimate goal of yoga. Every text. Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Gheranda, Sanhita, you take up any, means what? The Hatha Yoga must lead me to Raj Yoga. If the Hatha Yoga does not lead me to Raj Yoga, then I am wasting my time. What is Raj Yoga? Raj Yoga is Patanjali Yoga Sutra. But what is the goal of meditation? Knowledge of the reality is revealed in that objectless state of the mind. So that knowledge is the path of Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. So which one is that the highest? Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. It is mind that reveals the knowledge of my true nature, and I experience my awareness, my experience is nothing but the knowledge. Why I use the Kundalini Yoga? In Tantra, there are 16 acharas. Sometimes they say there are 26. Achara means 25 or 26 preliminary practices to achieve the purification of the mind and a natural focus of the mind that helps the mind to withdraw inside. So, whatever the outer practices, there is the external Kundalini Yoga. They are right, it's a popular notion. What is popular notion? There's a red in color, focus your mind there. These are all external yoga. Purification, focus, calmness, restfulness, relaxation refer to the six inner treasures. It leads to awakening to the six inner treasures. What is the goal of meditation, whether it is Kundalini meditation or any meditation? Knowledge of the reality. So that Kundalini Yoga ultimately has to move to the path of knowledge, the path of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, ultimately to the path of knowledge. That is the way to succeed. Say, I have experienced the God inside me pulsating in my heart and I'm communicating with it as long as I'm in meditation. I come out of the meditation, the God is gone and I'm frustrated. As long as I'm eating pasta, which I like, I enjoy. And the moment I leave it, my mind again craves for that pasta. So the craving comes from my ignorant mind and the impure mind. So that impure mind, unless it becomes pure, whether we do practice any yoga, Kundalini yoga, it doesn't make any difference. We have to check. The mind has become pure. Mind has withdrawn inside. The mind lives into the state of the calmness and peace and joy. Then only we can transcend the mind. So ultimately, the Kundalini Yoga, the Hatha Yoga, the Mantra Yoga, the Bhakti Yoga, the Raj Yoga sublimates into the path of knowledge. Why knowledge? Can you remove ignorance from any form of an action? What is opposite of ignorance is knowledge. What is opposite of action is inaction. So we mess with it. If I practice daily living in ignorance, the knowledge of the reality dawns. It will never happen. The opposite of ignorance is knowledge. In the last, I have to know, I'm aware, I experience. That true nature. That is the only way. According to Patanjali and the commentator of Patanjali. Now